Medical tension. The power of decision-making in the hallways, the hospital corridors were sterile, brightly lit, and quiet, save for the soft hum of overhead fluorescent lights. It was a scene repeated every day, yet today felt different. The usual rush of nurses and doctors seemed subdued, as if the very air was thick with an unease that had settled in the bones of the building itself. Inside these walls, lives were saved and lost, but it wasn't just the patients who faced decisions. Those who wore the white coats carried their own burdens, the weight of each choice heavier than the last. At the center of this storm stood Dr. Malcolm Edwards, his presence commanding the attention of those around him. A seasoned physician, he had spent years navigating the labyrinth of medical procedures, ethical dilemmas, and most of all, the unpredictable nature of life and death. Today, however, his usual calm demeanor was replaced by a subtle but unmistakable tension. His grip on the brown leather folder in his hands was tight, his fingers trembling ever so slightly as he moved down the hallway with an air of purpose. The folder contained a patient's file, a life, a future, hanging in the balance of the decision that was about to be made. Following Dr. Edwards was a small group of medical professionals, their white coats gleaming in the harsh light. They walked in formation, like soldiers on a mission, but there was no camaraderie among them today. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken questions. Their faces were masks of professionalism, but their eyes told another story. Eyes that flicked to each other nervously, some glancing quickly at Dr. Edwards, others hesitating to meet his gaze at all. There was something at stake here, something that could shift the power dynamics of their world. One of them, Dr. Jason Harris, was the youngest of the group, just a few years out of his residency. He had been eager to prove himself, to make his mark in the medical field. But now, as he stood in the hallway, surrounded by the unspoken tension that seemed to be suffocating them all, he was beginning to question whether he was truly ready for the weight of such decisions. He had spent countless hours studying medical texts, attending rounds, and memorizing procedures, but nothing could have prepared him for the gravity of the moment. The choice they were about to make wasn't just about medical expertise. It was about morality, responsibility, and the ethical boundaries they had sworn to uphold. Dr. Rachel Carter, another member of the team, was a more seasoned physician. She had seen her fair share of difficult cases, but the uncertainty that clouded her normally sharp gaze was unsettling. Dr. Carter had always prided herself on making quick, confident decisions, but this case was different. The dilemma they were facing had no clear right answer. She had spent hours poring over the patient's medical records, analyzing every possibility, but still, she found herself second-guessing the best course of action. Should they proceed with an aggressive treatment, or was it time to acknowledge the limitations of medicine and shift to palliative care? Behind them, the other doctors followed silently, each with their own thoughts, their own reservations. Some were quietly hoping for a clear answer to emerge, while others feared the potential consequences of any decision they might make. No matter which direction they chose, someone would bear the brunt of the blame. It was a truth they all knew, and yet, it seemed to hang over them more today than ever before. As they reached the end of the hallway, they paused. Dr. Edwards stopped in front of the door to the conference room, a place where the final decision would be made. He knew that whatever happened behind those closed doors would shape not only the patient's future, but also the professional futures of everyone involved. The weight of that knowledge bore down on him heavily. He was no stranger to difficult decisions, but this one felt different. There was something about the patient's case that stirred something deep within him, something personal, almost. The room was cold when they entered, the air thick with the hum of a pending decision. Dr. Edwards motioned for everyone to sit, his eyes scanning the room briefly before he began to speak. "We're here because we need to make a choice, one that could change the course of this patient's life," he said, his voice steady but laden with an undercurrent of emotion. "We all know the risks, the statistics, and the possible outcomes, but ultimately, we're not just treating a condition, we're treating a human being." The room fell silent as Dr. Edwards set the folder down on the table. He opened it, revealing the patient's medical history, long-term illness, failed treatments, a prognosis that had shifted from hopeful to grim. The team gathered around, their faces etched with the same mixture of concern and uncertainty that had plagued them in the hallway. Dr. Harris leaned in, glancing at the records. The treatment options are limited, but we still have a chance to improve the prognosis. We could give it one more shot, one more round of experimental treatment. His voice trailed off as he looked to Dr. Carter, who had been uncharacteristically quiet. I agree, Dr. Carter said after a pause, her voice softer than usual. But we also have to consider the patient's quality of life. Even if the treatment works, the side effects are harsh, and there's no guarantee of success. What kind of life are we offering if we push forward with something so aggressive? Dr. Edwards nodded thoughtfully, his brow furrowed. Exactly. We're not just looking at the medical facts here. We're looking at a person, a family, a future. Sometimes the right decision isn't the one that offers the most hope, but the one that offers the most dignity. The room was silent again, each doctor lost in their thoughts. They were all fully aware that whatever they decided, someone would ultimately suffer. And in this moment, the balance between saving a life and preserving one's dignity seemed precariously thin. After what seemed like an eternity, Dr. Edwards spoke again, his voice firm. This is the crossroads we face. It's not an easy decision, but it's one we must make together, as a team. We need to do what's best for the patient, not for our egos, not for our pride, but for them. No matter the outcome, we will own our decision. He stood up, motioning for everyone to join him. As they filed out of the conference room, there was a sense of resolve in the air. The hallway outside seemed less oppressive now, but still, the weight of the decision hung heavily. Each member of the team understood that their choice, no matter what it was, would leave a lasting impact. This was not just about medicine, it was about humanity.